you for joining me tonight on this live, and where I'll be walking you through how to do my zero-based budget. Before you start a budget, you have to know that everybody needs a budget. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter if you don't have a lot of money. It just is telling your money where to go, making sure you have an assignment for every dollar, because that's your key to financial success, and is making sure you understand what's coming in and out of your bank accounts, where your money is flowing. And once you understand that, then you can start to prioritize things like debt payoff or investing and things like that. In order to get an understanding of that, you need to understand, number one, like on average, how much you make a month. You also need to have a firm understanding on what you spend your money on every month. So the way that I suggest you doing that is to go back through a couple of paychecks and or like last month, if you go through your W-2 and last year, if you go through your W-2 and average out how much a month you make, or most people know how much they make on average. And what I usually do is take like the lowest amount of money that I would make in a month and base my budget off of that. So that's where you would start with your income. Then to figure out what your expenses are, you're going to want to go through your credit card statements, your bank statements for the last couple of months, and kind of see where you spend your money on. And then realistically say, like, don't say, dang, I spent like $500 a month. I usually spend like $500 a month on food, but now that I'm creating the budget, I'm going to put it down to $100, because it doesn't work like that. You have to make your budget realistic, or you're not going to stick to it. So realistically plan out how much you actually spend. Every month your budget should look different, because every month something is going on that's unique. You have different things you need to pay for your kids' school. You might be traveling. You might have events at work come up. You have birthday parties, all those kind of things. So your budget needs to reflect everything that you're spending money on. It's okay to have a miscellaneous category, but that category should be very small, like under $100, and there should never be more than a few things in there. I rarely even use that, and when I do, it's for a very small amount of money. So that's kind of how you figure out your income and your expenses. Then you need to go and figure out how much debt you have, and you want to put that in your budget as well. And you also want to put any like outside investing you do from your paycheck. And let me tell you why I don't include like my 401k contributions or anything that's pre-tax in my budget, because I only budget for what my take-home pay is. And so I don't include that in my actual budget. So your actual budget should reflect the amount of money that you're bringing home, not your gross income. How much you're bringing home every month is what you want to budget off of. If I do any kind of outside investing, like if I invest in my Roth or just a traditional investment account or brokerage account or any other kind of investing, then I put that into my budget, because that's going to obviously come out of my income. So those are things that you want to make sure that you're building into your budget so that it's realistic. Now, I do a zero-based budget, and I use an app called Everydollar to do that. I'm not recommending that this is what you do, but I'm showing you what works for me. The key to budgeting is you have to find a budget that works for you, and then you stick to it. But you have to do whatever works for you and whatever you're going to stick to. So that's the secret to budgeting. Like, you have to do it consistently, and it has to be realistic. I'm going to walk you through a zero-based budget. I'm going to start a budget from scratch. I'm going to start off, like I said, a blank slate. So I recommend that if you guys want to practice, log into this Everydollar account, and I'm going to type in the comment section what the username and password is. So hi, Anna. So hi, Susan. The username is going to be financially intentional gmail.com. Bear with me, guys. I do not type fast. Okay, so that's the username. Hold on. You guys feel free to log in anytime and to play around with it. The password is going to be dummy, and make sure that's a capital D, 2017 with an exclamation point. All right, so this is one thing that you can use to practice your budget, and you can see if this works for you. Like I said, whatever works for you, you got to do. But this is the best way I found to budget. Like I tried all kinds of different budgeting, and this is what really, really works well for me. I'm going to start with setting up a little dummy budget. So we're going to start with your paycheck. So if every month you know that your take home pay, and like I said, this is based on the month. So in January, your take home pay is going to be $5,000. And that's after taxes, after everything has been taken out. You want to put that there. Now, say for example, you're like me and you get a refund from your daycare because you have some flexible spending account. You can put those things back in here too. So let's put in a flex spending account for daycare. And that's going to be $500 a month because that's going to count towards your income. Because they're going to take it out of your paycheck, but then in the back end, you're going to get that back so you can pay for your daycare. I always plan at least 10% of my budget to give away as a form of tithe or through charity. So you want to do that giving. So I'm going to put, I'm just going to put giving here, and we're going to calculate that as 10% of our income off top. So that's going to be $550. Okay. So as you see, as we do our income here and we start to list out our expenses, what we have left to budget is going to drop. So the point of a zero-based budget is that every dollar of your income you need to spend. So if you're in debt, so we're going to move on to the next thing. If you're in debt, I always recommend that you have at least $1,000 in an emergency fund, and then the rest of your money should be going to debt. And that's how I paid off my debt. And I highly recommend it. Like on average, most people don't even have a couple $100 in their bank account for emergencies. So I think that if you're in debt, your priority should be paying that, put $1,000 in your emergency fund. But let's just, for the sake of time, say that you have already $1,000 saved, but we're just focusing on budgeting right now. So your mortgage or your rent, we're going to put that here. And we're going to say you live in an affordable area, so your mortgage is only $1,000 a month. No HOA dues. So if there's something that doesn't apply to you in here, you can delete it. And so I'm going to delete HOA dues. But you can also add things in. So if you don't own a house, let's say you live in an apartment like me, you don't have to necessarily pay water and gas separately. You might just pay a utility to your apartment building. So this is what you do. You just put the utility in here as an expense, and then you can delete out this gas, and then say that's another $50 a month. And then the electricity is $50 a month. I pay my electricity separate. Mobile phone, $100 a month. Cable, I don't have cable. But if you do have cable, this is where you would put that. Or like me, you just take it out. Garbage bills, this is if you own a house as well. So these are categories for homeowners. So like I said, I don't own a home, so I'm going to take that out. But if you do, you can go ahead and leave that in. Gas, when I did have a car that used gas, I was spending about $300 a month. But let's say that we live in a cheaper cost of living area. So I'm going to go ahead and put $150 a month. Now, this car replacement fund is something, that we can set up like a sinking fund. If you guys don't know what a sinking fund is, a sinking fund is something like a savings account, but it's allocated towards a specific goal, and it's something that you contribute towards monthly. If you know that you have a big service coming up, you want to put money in that account. Or this car replacement fund is actually if you know your car is going to go out in a couple years and you want to save maybe $5,000 towards the car. $5,000 over, however many years. I'm not even going to try to do that math really quick. But say you wanted to save $100 a month in order to replace your car. Now, this is called a fund. And let me show you how to create a fund in Everydollar. So you see this little piggy right here, this piggy bank? You're going to make this into a fund. So you're going to drop this down. make this into a fund. So your starting balance is going to be zero. But what you want to do is you want to have a savings goal of $5,000 for this account. So you put that in there. And when you do that, what this is going to do is going to roll over any money, so any income or expenses that you put towards this every month. So this category rolls over to the next month. And I'll show you that I can make a February budget after this, and I'll just show you how that works. So if you're going to allocate $100 to this, then I'll show you what's going to happen in the next month. That's how you set up a fund. Groceries, please make it as realistic as possible. If you spend $500 a month on groceries, put that thing, not $2,500, Lord Jesus, $250. Restaurants, whatever you spend on restaurants, and you guys, you'll find that this is probably your biggest expense in your budget. Like I said, this budget needs to be really, really, really as real as possible. So you want, like, if you do spend money on grooming your pet every other month, you want to make sure that that's included. Make sure you plan for your spending money for clothes. You have to be accountable for that. Childcare, that's like a big expense for me. Right now I'm paying $730 a month, but let's just say your kid is in school, you don't have to pay childcare, you don't have to pay school tuitions. This is where you would put subscription services like Netflix. So Netflix just went up to $10.99 a month. Any kind of sports and entertainment, if you have like season tickets for something that you're paying monthly on. If you this is for movie expenses, all those kind of things. Gym membership, I think it's average about $20 a month. This miscellaneous category is what I was talking to you about earlier. Like, this is not a catch-all. This is something that you want to use rarely, and if you do, it should be under $100. And it's just kind of like things that just don't neatly fit anywhere. If you know that you're going to have an expense that's going to come up frequently, you want to add it. So some things that I have added in here is travel. And I have a travel budget, and I actually make this a fund. So I want to have at least $1,000 in my travel account at all times. So again, I made that a fund. And as money comes in and out, it'll track the next month. Also, I have an educational fund. If I spend money at work on education, I want to be able to know that. I want to separate that out because, number one, you get some tax credits for that, and a lot of times my job will reimburse me. So I just want to make sure that that's a separate line item, and then in the next month I can add that back in. Or you can even just, when you add a transaction, you can put it as an income item in here to reverse that charge out. But after we set up the categories, I'm going to show you how to go in and add your add your transactions. Health insurance, life insurance, auto insurance, also all categories that you need to have. Let's see, I'm just actually looking through my budget. Oh, lifestyle. In my lifestyle budget, I read a lot of books. But I limit myself to only spending $20 a month on books. So I put that there. Like I said, your budget has to be as realistic as possible and really reflect your life in order to really, really be effective. So debt here, any kind of car note, this is what you want to put here. Car note, any other kind of payments that you're making. Look at me, I can't even think of student loans. I'm like, what do people pay for? Student loans, all of those things. So you see right now we still have almost $3,000 left to budget. If your car note is $500, let's put that here. Actually, let's put in our health insurance stuff. Maybe you contribute $50 a month to your health insurance if you are so fortunate. Life insurance shouldn't be more than about $50 a month either. Auto insurance depends on if you live in Oakland like me, your auto insurance is hecka high. But for the sake of simplicity, let's leave it at $100. Oh, another thing another category that I have in my transportation is I do take public transportation sometimes, and I want to make sure I have that budgeted in, and that comes out like $45 a month. Sorry, I keep on putting these zeros there. And then, oops, how did I do that? I put an extra zero somewhere. And then parking, like when I pay at the parking meter, I even budget for something as small as that. So I budget $20 a month for that. So we have $2,100 and some change left over to budget. So if you have a debt, this is how I paid off my debt. If you have any debt, what you want to do, like I said, you want to prioritize. Okay, so you budgeted out all of your expenses. Say you don't have your emergency fund. The first thing you're going to do is put $1,000 in your emergency fund. There that goes. Now you only have $1,184.01. Then what you would do is you would throw that extra money onto your smallest debt. Actually, let's make a realistic student loan payment. So then this would be $1,484. So look, now it says it's an Everydollar budget. So that means every one of your dollars is being accounted for. Now that we've listed out our categories, we've listed out what we want to spend, how we're going to spend our money, we are going to start adding transactions in. Let's start adding in some transactions. All right, so you say you got paid today. And this is your first paycheck. You're going to put the $2,500 in here. You're going to put job. How you add it, and then automatically add your income. It automatically adds your paycheck as income. So this is a good time. So this is showing you Everydollar plus. Now there's a feature. Everydollar is completely free unless you want your transactions from your bank to come over to automatically into the account, and then I think it's $100 a year, and they charge you, or it's like $5 a month. You got your paycheck, so now you have $2,500 that you already received, and then you're waiting for the next $2,500. So it's going to reflect right here. You haven't gotten reimbursed for your flex spending account, but so far you've already received the $2,500. And then this is where you start planning like when expenses are going to come out. If your mortgage, you know that's going to come out on the 1st. So that's already there. So you've already paid that for the 1st. Okay. So this is how you go in and start adding transactions. And like I said, you can say you paid for something at work in your education. Say you took a class. This is going to mess up my zero-based budgeting, but say you took a class and you paid $20 for the class, but then your employer gave you back that $20. You can go in here and put this $20 and put it as income. And it's going to take it out. Actually, you want to put in that you actually paid for the class. So that's $20. And then you could take that out, right? That's a way to chart transactions in and out within this category. And then you would actually be spending zero. So now we're back to an Everydollar budget, but you still have those transactions there where you've actually paid for the class, but now you've accounted for it. So that's how you do that. So you just go through all of your transactions as they come in. I like to budget. It was a point where I was doing this every day. Now I do it about 3 days a week where I just go through all my transactions. I pull up my credit card. I pull up because I use the free version. I don't use the automated version. I pull up my credit card statements. I pull up my bank statements, and I go through every transaction and I enter it in here. and I adjust my budget accordingly. Now, say you went over budget on your gas, $200. I mean, $50. So now it's $200. Now you're $50 over budget. What are you going to do in that case? So you've allocated all of your money. So I would try to find places in your budget where you can flex down, like maybe not spend $100 on clothes. Maybe this month you can only spend $50 on clothes. Worst case situation, you want to take away from what your overage is on what you're paying towards your debt or whatever your financial goal, if that's investing, whatever it is. So that's how you would adjust it. But you always want to make sure that this at the end of the month that it's an Everydollar budget. All right, so we got our January budget done. So it's now January 20th. We want to start getting our February budget done. And again, the key to budgeting is to make sure that you tell your money where to go in advance. Now, I'm just using this January budget as an example, but you guys should have already had your budget done through February. So, not February. You guys should have had this January budget done in December. So we're going to go ahead and create our budget for February. So it's going to say, hey, it looks like you need a budget for February. We'll copy your January budget to get started. You can use that, and I strongly recommend you do that. But say you totally mess up your January budget, you want to start over, you don't want to use it, which I don't really recommend. There's always a reset button right here. So you can reset your budget and it'll take out all your categories. But what this does, when you say yes, you want to use your January budget, it transfers all your totals over here. And what I was telling you about as far as funds, remember we made the emergency fund that was a fund, and our goal is only to save $1,000. So I'm gonna put this right here. $1,000 is only our goal, and we can take this out now because last month we saved $1,000. So now we have an extra $1,000 in our budget to go through and spend. And ideally, like I said, you want to spend it on whatever your debt is that you're trying to pay off, your lowest debt. So if you have that extra $1,000, you want to put it onto your car note, right? So this is basically how you do it I don't know, I'm still like a zero-based budget. And yeah, it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah, let me show you what this car replacement fund looks like. So if your goal, like I said, is to save $100 a month, automatically this $100 comes back over from your January budget. And see, now your fund balance is going to be $200, and it'll keep on rolling over. So my travel budget, like I said, I usually try to have $1,000. I forgot to plug in the numbers in last month, but it'll come over on this month once I do that. And you can also, if you make adjustments in your January budget to anything that's a fund, it'll transfer over into the next month. So like I said, this is my January budget. And so travel, I just put a savings goal, but I didn't put this here. So say, let's put $500 a month this month on travel. Then, I know it's over budget, but it's just to show you guys. Then this month, I'll have $500 balance in my travel. So that's how it works. It works across months. So it updates. So that's why I like this budget. It's pretty smart. It's pretty simple. It's really, really basic. It's just thing you have to do is make sure that you have a zero-based budget. Everything is accounted for, and make sure that wherever your extra money, whenever you have extra money, so you got paid extra, you always have a plan for it. Because a lot of times what happens, we're about to start going into tax season, you get these tax refunds, or you get paid a bonus in January or in December or whatever, and you get this extra money, and you don't have a plan for it, so it just lands in your bank account. Next thing you know, the money is gone. But once you have a plan for it, as soon as you get it in, you're going to spend it, and therefore you have a place for that transaction. But thank you guys for joining me live. Sorry about the technical difficulty, but I think overall this gives you a good picture of how to do a budget.
Purchase your tracks today.